People get heart attacks just because of bathing. I'm sorry to make such a video, but it is necessary to tell you about problems like heart attacks while bathing so that you can save someone or your life at any age. Stop bathing your elderly parents the way you were taught. Right now, tonight, somewhere in this country, an otherwise healthy 74-year-old will step into a hot shower and never step out alive. I know that sentence sounds dramatic. I wish it wasn't true. But after 22 years practicing geriatric medicine, I have seen it happen more times than I care to count, and almost every single time, it was completely preventable. Here's a number that should stop you in your tracks. Japan's own government consumer safety agency has tracked bath-related deaths for over a decade, and their figures show that roughly 19,000 people die every single year from bathing accidents in that country alone, more than double the number who die in traffic accidents there. Most of those deaths happen to people over 70. Most of them happen in winter, and almost none of them are drownings in the way you'd imagine. There's something far stranger, far more silent, and something I'm going to explain to you in full detail today, because once you understand the mechanism, you will never look at your evening bath the same way again. Before we dive into today's list, I want to do something I ask at the start of every video, because I genuinely read every single comment you leave me. Tell me your age right now in the comments below, and I want to ask you something personal. Do you bathe in the morning or at night? I ask because the answer to that one question might be putting you at risk, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why. I'm going to walk you through 6 things about bathing after 70 that most doctors never sit down and explain to their patients, ranked from important to absolutely critical. We're counting down from 6 to 1, and I promise you, number 1 is going to change how you think about something you've done on autopilot your entire life. Let me introduce you to someone first. I'll call her Margaret. Margaret was 78 years old, living independently in a small house outside Dayton, Ohio. Her daughter called me in a panic one January evening because Margaret had been found sitting on the edge of her bathtub, grey-faced, drenched in sweat despite the cold house, barely able to speak. She hadn't fallen, she hadn't slipped. What happened to Margaret is exactly what I'm about to explain in items 6 and 5. And by the time we reach the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how her story could have ended very differently, and how it very nearly didn't end at all. Let's begin. Number 6. Daily bathing might be quietly destroying your skin's defense system. Here's something that surprises almost every senior I've ever told. Bathing every single day the way you may have done your whole adult life can actually work against you after 70. Your skin is not the same organ it was at 40. Around your 7th decade, the outermost layer of your skin, what dermatologists call the stratum corneum, becomes noticeably thinner, and your sebaceous glands, the tiny factories that produce natural protective oils, slow down dramatically. Some geriatric dermatology research estimates that natural oil production can drop by close to 60% between your 30s and your 70s. Think of your skin's oil layer like the wax coating on a car. When you're younger, that wax is thick and constantly replenished, so a little soap and water barely touches it. After 70, that wax coating is thin and slow to regenerate, so daily scrubbing with soap strips it away faster than your body can rebuild it. Why does this matter so much for aging bodies specifically? Because your skin isn't just a covering, it's your first line of immune defense. It's covered in a thin, invisible layer of beneficial bacteria and lipids that dermatologists now refer to as the skin's microbiome. And this layer helps block harmful pathogens from entering your body through tiny cracks and abrasions. When you overbathe with hot water and harsh soap every day, you disrupt that barrier, and it can take your body 2 to 3 times longer to repair it than it would in a 30-year-old. This is one of the quieter reasons seniors report more skin infections, more itching, and more fragile, tearing skin than younger adults. It isn't just age, it's the mismatch between an old habit and a body that has changed its needs. For most seniors over 70 without unusual sweating, incontinence issues, or outdoor labor, 2 to 3 full bathes a week is genuinely enough, with a quick sponge clean of the face, underarms, and groin area on the days in between. Optimal timing tends to be in the late afternoon or early evening, when your body temperature has naturally started its evening decline, which we'll come back to in a moment. And here's your synergy tip for this one. Pair every bath with a fragrance-free ceramide-based moisturizer applied within 3 minutes of towel drying, while your skin is still slightly damp. That damp window allows the moisturizer to lock in far more hydration than applying it to fully dry skin. Some studies on skin barrier repair suggest that damp application can improve moisture retention by a wide margin compared to applying cream to bone-dry skin. But skin barrier damage isn't even the most dangerous thing happening in your bathroom. Coming up at number 5 is something that connects directly to Margaret's story, and it involves an organ you'd never suspect, your heart. Number 5. The temperature swing in your bathroom might be more dangerous than the water itself. Here is the mechanism behind what happened to Margaret, and it is one every senior and every adult child of a senior needs to understand. When you step from a cold room into a hot shower or a hot bath, your blood vessels near your skin surface rapidly dilate. They widen to release heat and cool your body down. In a younger adult, the cardiovascular system compensates for this almost instantly. Your heart rate adjusts, your blood pressure stabilizes, and you barely notice anything happened. After 70, that compensation system slows down. Researchers studying autonomic nervous system aging have found that the body's ability to rapidly adjust blood pressure in response to temperature and position changes can decline substantially with age, sometimes by what's described as a third or more of the responsiveness seen in middle age. This is part of why the condition orthostatic hypertension, a sudden drop in blood pressure, often when standing or when blood vessels dilate quickly, becomes so much more common after 70. Think of your circulatory system like a delivery truck route. In your 40s, if there's a sudden change in demand, the dispatcher reroutes trucks instantly and nothing gets delayed. After 70, that same dispatch system has fewer trucks, older engines, and it takes noticeably longer to reroute supply. When you step into a very hot bath, your blood rushes to your skin to cool you, your blood pressure drops, and your brain, the most oxygen-hungry organ in your body, can be starved of blood flow for just long enough to cause dizziness, fainting, or in Margaret's case, a dangerous racing heartbeat and near loss of consciousness. This single mechanism, temperature-triggered blood pressure drops, is believed to be behind the overwhelming majority of those Japanese bathing deaths I mentioned at the start of this video, particularly in winter, when people step from a freezing bathroom into scalding hot water, creating an extreme swing in a very short window of time. The fix is simpler than you'd think. Keep your bathroom pre-warmed before you even undress. A small space heater running for 10 minutes beforehand makes an enormous difference in reducing that temperature gap. Keep bath water at a genuinely warm, not scalding temperature, ideally in the range that feels comfortably warm rather than hot enough to turn your skin pink. And never, ever go from an ice-cold room directly into a hot bath, or from a hot bath directly out into a cold room, without a buffer period wrapped in a towel or robe. Your synergy tip here: sip a small glass of room temperature water about 10 minutes before bathing. Mild dehydration makes blood pressure swings significantly worse, so entering the bath adequately hydrated gives your cardiovascular system a much better cushion. Now, I promised you something shocking near the top of this video, and here it is, because the very next item on our list is the one that surprises even other physicians when I explain it in medical conferences. Number 4. How long you stay in the water matters more than how often you bathe. Most seniors think about bathing frequency, how many times a week, but almost nobody thinks about bathing duration, and that's the mistake. Soaking in hot water for a prolonged period, even just 20 to 30 minutes, causes something called transepidermal water loss to spike dramatically in older skin. Your skin, already thinner and less oil protected as we discussed, essentially becomes waterlogged and then rapidly dehydrated as it dries, which paradoxically leaves 70+ skin drier after a long soak than before you got in the water. Geriatric dermatology literature has repeatedly pointed to prolonged hot water exposure as one of the more overlooked contributors to what's called xerosis, or chronic dry, cracked skin in the elderly population. And cracked skin isn't cosmetic, it's an open door for bacteria. There's also a cardiovascular angle here that compounds everything from item 5. The longer you sit in hot water, the longer your blood vessels stay dilated, and the longer your blood pressure regulation system has to work overtime. A quick 5 to 10 minute bath asks your body for a brief adjustment. A 30-minute soak asks an aging cardiovascular system to sustain that adjustment for 6 times as long. And that is where fatigue, dizziness upon standing, and fainting episodes tend to cluster. I want you to think of your circulatory system like a rubber band. A young rubber band can be stretched for a long time and snap right back into shape. An older rubber band, one that's been stretched and released thousands of times over 7 or 8 decades, loses some of that elasticity. Stretch it too long, and it's slower to recover. Sometimes it doesn't recover fully at all before you ask something else of it. The practical fix. Aim for bath or shower sessions of roughly 10 to 15 minutes, no more. Set a timer if you need to. It sounds unromantic, but it works. And your synergy tip for this one is to end your bath with a slightly cooler rinse for the last 30 seconds. Not cold, just slightly cooler than the bath itself. This gently constricts those dilated blood vessels back down before you stand up, which meaningfully reduces the dizzy, light-headed feeling so many seniors describe when they climb out of the tub. All right, before we get into the top 3, which is where this list gets genuinely serious, I need you to do 2 quick things for me. If this video is teaching you something you didn't know, hit that subscribe button and tap the like button right now, because this channel survives entirely on people like you sharing it forward. I put dozens of hours into researching every single one of these videos so that your parents, your grandparents, or you yourself can stay safer and more independent at home. And the algorithm only shows this to more seniors if you engage with it. It genuinely takes 2 seconds and it helps more than you'd think. All right, let's get into the top 3 because number 1 is the one I get the most emails about, and it might be the most important 90 seconds of health advice I give you all year. Number 3. The time of day you bathe is quietly working against your sleep and your immune system. Most people bathe whenever it's convenient, but your body has a very specific internal clock, and bathing at the wrong time can work against 2 things you desperately need more of after 70: deep sleep and immune resilience. Sleep researchers have found that your core body temperature naturally begins dropping about 1 to 2 hours before your body wants to fall asleep. And that temperature drop is actually one of the biological signals your brain uses to trigger sleepiness. A warm bath taken about 90 minutes before bed causes your skin temperature to rise temporarily. And then, as you cool back down afterward, it accelerates that natural temperature drop, essentially giving your brain a stronger signal that it's time to sleep. Sleep studies on older adults have found that a pre-bed warm bath can meaningfully shorten the time it takes to fall asleep, and can improve the amount of deep, slow-wave sleep achieved. And slow-wave sleep is precisely the stage where your immune system does an enormous amount of its repair work, including the production of certain infection-fighting cells. This matters enormously for aging bodies because after 70, your thymus gland, the organ responsible for training new immune cells, has already shrunk dramatically compared to its size in youth, a process called immune senescence. You genuinely cannot afford to waste the sleep-based immune repair window you do have left. Bathing at the wrong time, say first thing in the morning, right before you rush out the door, or too late at night, right as you're trying to fall asleep with your skin still overheated, actually works against this temperature drop mechanism instead of helping it. The fix: if better sleep and immune support are your goal, time your bath for roughly 90 minutes before your intended bedtime, using warm, not hot water, so your body has time to complete that cooling cycle naturally. Your synergy tip here is to dim the lights in your bathroom during that evening bath, rather than using bright overhead lighting. Bright light in the evening suppresses melatonin production, your natural sleep hormone, and partially cancels out the benefit you just created with the warm, then cool temperature shift. Number 2, the soap and water you're using might be feeding, not preventing, infection. Here is something almost nobody explains to seniors, and it directly answers that panic so many of you feel before pouring water on your body, especially over sensitive areas. As we age, wound healing slows considerably. Some research on aging and tissue repair suggests healing time can roughly double between your 30s and your 70s, largely due to reduced circulation and a slower inflammatory response. That means small nicks, pressure sores, or cracked skin around the heels, elbows, and lower legs, areas that are common in seniors with reduced mobility, take far longer to close. If you're bathing with extremely hot water and heavily fragranced antibacterial soap, you are stripping away protective oils exactly in the areas that need them most to heal, while simultaneously killing off some of the beneficial bacteria that actually compete with harmful pathogens for space on your skin. Dermatology researchers studying the skin microbiome have found that overly aggressive antibacterial cleansing can disrupt this competitive balance, potentially making room for more harmful, opportunistic bacteria and fungi to take hold, particularly in warm, moist areas like the groin, underarms, and skin folds. This is precisely why so many seniors develop stubborn skin infections, particularly fungal infections in skin folds, despite bathing frequently. The bathing itself, done the wrong way, is undermining the very defense system meant to prevent it. I think of the skin microbiome like a garden. A healthy garden with established plants naturally crowds out weeds. If you spray harsh chemicals across the entire garden indiscriminately, you don't just kill the weeds. You kill the plants that were holding the weeds back too, and now the soil is vulnerable to whatever blows in next. The fix is refreshingly simple. Switch to a gentle, pH-balanced, fragrance-free cleanser, rather than a harsh antibacterial soap for your everyday bathing. Reserving antibacterial soap only for genuine wound care under medical guidance. Use warm, not hot, water, and pat skin dry rather than vigorously rubbing with a towel, which can cause micro tears in thinning skin. Your synergy tip. After bathing, apply moisturizer with your hands moving in the same direction as hair growth, rather than in circles, which reduces friction-based irritation on skin that's already more fragile than it used to be. Now, number 1. This is the fact I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, the one behind Margaret's story, and the one I want every single person watching to send to a parent or grandparent tonight. Number 1. Never bathe within 1 to 2 hours of a large meal or right after waking from deep sleep. This is the fact that connects everything together, and it's the one most doctors never explicitly warn their older patients about. When you eat a large meal, your body redirects a significant portion of your blood supply to your digestive system to support digestion. This is sometimes called postprandial blood flow redistribution. At the same time, if you've just woken from a nap or from a deep night's sleep, your blood pressure is naturally lower, and your circulatory system is still, in a sense, warming up its engines for the day. Combine either of these states with the sudden blood vessel dilation caused by a hot bath, and you are asking an aging cardiovascular system to do 3 demanding jobs simultaneously. Digest food, wake up, and regulate a sudden temperature shift. That is precisely the combination researchers point to in a large share of sudden bathing-related collapses in elderly populations. And it is almost exactly what happened to Margaret. She had eaten a large dinner less than an hour before running her bath, on a cold January evening, in an unheated bathroom. Think of your circulatory system on any given day like a small business with a limited number of employees. Digestion needs staff. Waking up from sleep needs staff. Suddenly regulating blood pressure because of a hot bath needs staff too. In a 30-year-old business with plenty of extra employees on call, all 3 tasks get covered without a problem. In a 75-year-old business running with a much smaller, more tired staff, asking for all 3 at once can mean nobody's task gets done properly. And that's when the whole system stumbles. The fix, and this is genuinely one of the simplest, highest impact changes you can make. Wait at least 60 to 90 minutes after eating a substantial meal before bathing. And if you've just woken up from sleep, give yourself 10 to 15 minutes of quiet, upright activity, sitting up, having a sip of water, moving around gently, before you ever step into water. And here's the synergy tip that ties this entire video together. Combine this timing rule with everything we've discussed. A pre-warmed bathroom, 10 to 15 minute duration, warm rather than hot water, a slightly cool final rinse, and a gentle cleanser. And you have built what I genuinely consider the safest possible bathing routine for anyone over 70. I'm happy to tell you that Margaret is doing wonderfully today. Once we adjusted her bathing schedule, moved her bath time to earlier in the evening well before dinner, had her daughter install a small heater in the bathroom, and swapped her harsh soap for a gentle cleanser, she hasn't had a single episode since. She told me last month that she actually looks forward to her baths again instead of dreading them, And that alone tells you how much unnecessary fear so many seniors carry around something as simple as washing themselves. And that really is what this entire video comes down to. Bathing shouldn't be something you fear. It shouldn't be something that quietly puts your heart, your skin, or your independence at risk. Done the right way, at the right time of day, at the right temperature, for the right duration, with the right products, and with respect for what your meal and sleep schedule are doing to your circulation, bathing becomes something genuinely protective. It supports your skin's immune barrier, it improves your sleep quality, it reduces infection risk, and it lets you keep doing, safely and independently, something that far too many seniors quietly start avoiding out of fear as they get older. Independence isn't about refusing help. It's about understanding your own body well enough to make small, informed adjustments that let you keep doing the things you love, safely, for years longer than you might expect. It is genuinely never too late to change a habit you've had for 50 years. And I have watched patients in their 80s transform their health simply by adjusting something as small as bath timing. All of the research I referenced today, including the studies on skin barrier aging, orthostatic hypotension, sleep temperature regulation, and bathing safety statistics, are linked in the description below for anyone who wants to read further. If this video gave your parents, your grandparents, or you yourself something valuable today, please subscribe to this channel and share it with someone who bathes alone, because this is exactly the kind of information that quietly saves lives. And I want to know from you, in the comments below, which of these 6 facts surprised you the most, and what time of day do you usually bathe? I read every single comment, and I will see you in the next video.